Hello, and welcome to the show where it's wrestling with entertainment, the only audio experience on the web today, the trusted choice for interviewing all your favorite wrestlers every Tuesday and Wednesday, previewing and reviewing the latest shows from WWE, AEW, New Japan, and everything in between every Saturday, and dropping off some bonus content on Mondays. I'm, of course, your host, James J., alongside Kaliko Younts.
What is going on? Another special episode just for the people.
And and it is a great day for wrestling because we are wrestling with our top 10 events that we wish we were at. Obviously, there's a lot of pro wrestling in the world, and I emphasize the world. Um, and sometimes you can't get on a plane. Sometimes those tariffs are just crazy. Sometimes you get, sometimes you the soul sells out and you just can't get there. Sometimes you just don't have the funds, and sometimes you wasn't even born yet. It doesn't make us wish any less that we were at that event. That just seemed like a really great environment to be in. So this is our top 10 events that we wish we were at. And I will go first. My number 10 will be the original All In from 2018.
Ooh, look at you.
It was, if there was ever a Woodstock of pro wrestling, it was the original All In. It was the culmination of storylines that weren't actually from wrestling shows. It was a storyline from a web series called Being the Elite.
BTE? Yeah.
Which, if you were watching pro wrestling at that time, like Being the Elite was one of the biggest, web series when it came to pro wrestling. And they had some of the best storylines or just, stories in general. So, most notably, like, they murdered Adam Cole on that show. Um, so, it was a payoff for the storylines that they had made on that show. Uh, you had matches like Stephen Amell versus a Christopher Daniels, which kind of seems off key at this point, but you know it was a celebrity in the show. Flip Gordon actually made it on the show um, in the over budget battle royal where he
Yes.
wrestled Black Machismo, Jay Lethal, in his Randy Savage attire, which was he was managed by Lenny Poffo that night as well.
Of
Uh,
all people.
Morty Skulls went 8 minutes over with Kazuchika Okada. Um, Hangman Page wrestled Joey Janela, where he murdered him with a telephone, which prompted the return of Joey Ryan, who was resurrected by penis druids. Yeah, 2018. Who knew? Like, I'll admit, some of this show did not age very well, all things considering. But we had, I think, only the only encounter between Kenny Omega and Pentagon Jr. Chris Jericho attacked Kenny Omega after that match. And the only times we ever seen the Young Bucks wrestle Rey Mysterio. So, like I said, this was like the Woodstock of pro wrestling, where it was like all of these wrestling stars like that you never knew could come together, kind of coming together. Nick Aldis wrestled Cody Rhodes on that show for the NWA Championship. One might say that should have been the main event. Um, it just seemed like a really great environment to watch pro wrestling. It was in the Shield Center in Chicago, so I mean, obviously, a Chicago um, crowd is always going to be hyped. So it seemed like a really great environment to enjoy a really, pretty good show at a time when
Hmm.
WWE wasn't necessarily giving us, the best content. So that's why the original All In from 2018 is my number 10.
Oh man. Oh shit. I know we started all this with like some of us didn't have like when I say it's always funny because like before we start this list, I must say I am uberly blessed to be able to go to all of these wrestling shows, and I think the reason that I go to all of these wrestling shows is because I couldn't go to any of the other wrestling shows.
Right.
Kind of. Kind of like a overcompensation because I either had to rent these bitches on DVD on from Blockbuster Video. That's me giving my age by now. Either renting them hoes on tapes or just missing them out altogether. Uh, my number 10, the one that I really kind of wished I was at, uh, SummerSlam '92 in London.
Hmm.
When I when I'm starting off honestly, all of these are in no particular order, to be quite honest. But I remember just like renting that tape and looking at that crowd at Wembley Stadium and the Heroes Welcome the British Bulldog was at, and one of the only times like where the Intercontinental Championship was like the main event of that show. The storyline had me hooked. I was in it. It was, Brett taking up for his sister and, the whole nine. Even the Shawn Michaels with Sister Sherry with the mirror. I mean, all of it. The Legion of Doom riding in on the motorcycle. I mean, I was just like me watching that on DVD made me wish, oh, not even DVD, VHS. It was VHS from Blockbuster. Made me wish I was there. And I really wanted to be there. The only problems I had, 1992, I was 8 years old and I did not have a passport. And my parents were damn sure not flying me to London. See, I could give you the reason why I was not at every show. I was 8 years old, 92. There was no way my parents in southern, the southern part of the U.S. even thinking about going to London. Although I tried to ask my granny, she wasn't gonna make it happen either. See, we didn't have the funds. But yeah, number 10, starting off 92, SummerSlam.
That brings me to my number 9. And that is No Way Out 2004. Most notably known for the night that Eddie Guerrero won the WWE Championship in the Cow Palace in San Francisco. Um, was definitely a big Eddie Guerrero fan at the time. Um, did not see the paid preview live because I wanted to see it, but my grandfather said, we have to get WrestleMania, and I was like, what's WrestleMania? Because WrestleMania was literally the next paid preview. Um, it didn't make me any less upset that I kind of missed Eddie Guerrero winning the championship, considering the celebration he had the next Thursday. Yeah, SmackDown was on Thursdays that time around. Um, but it's kind of funny because San Francisco is not that far away from where I lived at the time, which was still in the Southern California area. So, lucky I could kind of made it if if my mom would have actually let me go to wrestling events at that time. But just being maybe like 4 or 5 at the time, like no, yeah. So yeah, I understand where she was like no, but I didn't even know that it was in San Francisco. So I mean that's I didn't even know that San Francisco was in California at that point. So so but just looking back at it, I was like, wow, like I could have actually made that. Come on, mom. Why didn't you drive me? But yeah, it would have just been it would have been a great moment to see in person, to see Eddie Guerrero win the WWE Championship. Not necessarily knowing the history of Eddie Guerrero at the time, but just as like one of my favorite wrestlers. That's why it's my
Oh,
number
I
one.
feel you. I feel that. Speaking of Eddie Guerrero, my number nine actually had to deal with Eddie Guerrero, which was NWO Sold Out 1997 in Iowa, Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I want to say it was. Uh, it was the one and only NWO All NWO pay per view, and the only reason I really, 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 really wanted to go because one, it was the only NWO was super hot at the time, and that was like their all NWO pay per view. But the match was a ladder match between Eddie Guerrero and Six, and then the tag match between the Steiner brothers and the Outsiders. Uh, that and Masahiro Chono versus Chris Jericho, which was great.
Wow,
You know, it's great.
that is a
It's
very out of nowhere match.
that is a way out of nowhere match. But my point is that it was a stitch because Masahiro Chono was in the NWO. See, I
That's right.
see see how this works. So this is why I wanted to go because I'm like, why is this Japanese dude in the NWO? But 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 yeah, I really wanted to go to that because it was the one and only NWO show. At that time, NWO was just like mad over. And see, I want to say it's Cedar Rapids. No, I think that's South Dakota. But one of those usually have like a all bikers rally. So it happened roughly around that time, right? Where Sturgis. So most people usually go to Sturgis, and it had like this Sturgis biker esque feeling to it, and I just wanted to go because at that time MW was hot. I was really just into it. Couple problems. 97. I was about what 13, but yeah, just hitting 13, and my parents were not gonna take me in the middle of all white Iowa just for a wrestling. So it wasn't gonna happen. I mean, a lot of these you're gonna find out is either due to lack of funds or I was mad young to be doing any shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the most part, that show I really wanted to go because the Eddie Guerrero Six match was very intriguing to me because at that time Six was a very, very good cruiserweight champion. And at that time, the cruiserweights were like the thing. So, like, you had like Six and Malenko and Guerrero and Juventud and Jericho. It was just like the highlight. And I always knew that cruiserweights were going to shine. So that's why another reason I wanted to go. And I want to say that Guerrero got the best of 6 in that ladder match because all the NWO people won except who was it? Oh no, it was 6 in Eddie Guerrero for the U.S. title. Sorry, but yeah, 6 won it. But the Steiners beat the Outsiders, which was a crazy thing because it was like heavily skewed towards the NWO. It was pretty much like if the Atlanta Falcons when the Atlanta Falcons played the New Orleans Saints, and it was the first game back in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina. It was just no way anybody from WCW was winning that match. It was just like it's like fine, but a couple of them won, and it was funny how the crowd would react to it, like. So yes, my number 9 NWO sold out 97 because it's the one and only in all NWO pay-per-view.
That brings me to my number 8, and that is NJPW Invasion Attack 2016. I couldn't tell you all of the matches that was on this card, but it is most notably known for Tetsuya Naito defeating Kazuchika Okada to become the IWGP Heavyweight Champion for the first time in his career. I mean, if you know the story of Naito, you know him getting the nod in like 2013, the crowd not really going for him, the crowd kind of starting to turn on him, despise him. He takes a trip to Mexico, becomes Los Ingobernable, and then in a matter of 3 years, going from one of the most despised wrestlers in New Japan to being one of the most beloved wrestlers in New Japan against Kazuchika Okada, who is the golden boy at that point. This match was essentially seeing CM Punk wrestle in Chicago. It was that skewed for Naito to win. It was a sea of black shorts and black hats that said LIJ on them. There was no way that, Okada was winning that match. Despite being like uber heel in this match. Like Naito really fucked over Okada, every which way when it came to being a heel. Evil and Bushi helped him out, and it was actually the debut of Sonata, which actually clinched the title win for Naito. And I don't think I'll ever forget this. Naito wins the IWGP Championship, takes it in his hands, and he throws it up in the air like it's a piece of garbage. Because he was bigger than the title at that point. The title followed him, as he would say later on. To be a part of that event, to see it live, it was in Roki Goto Sumo Hall as well. Obviously an iconic venue for pro wrestling. I'm pretty sure he did the road call. To see him throw the title in the air, to do the road call, to see him be Naito at his peak, at being 100% Tetsuya Naito, the ungovernable heel, that would have been the chef's kiss of attending an event.
Mm.
That's why it is my number 8.
Oh man. So my number 8 is WrestleMania 5. And the reason why it's WrestleMania 5, if I ever had one regret in my wrestling fandom, is never having the opportunity to see the Macho Man Randy Savage wrestle in person. Uh, Essentially any Macho Man match. I could go back to like World War III, the very first World War III, in which the Macho Man was the very first winner of. I could go to WrestleMania. What was it? WrestleMania 8. I could go to the reason I wanted to pick WrestleMania 5 because it was the Mega Powers exploding.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was off the rail. Macho Man was like younger me thought Macho Man was tripping. Older me realized Macho Man was justified. That is what. Well, that is one. And two, to see two of the biggest stars in the '80s, like do their thing in the main event of a WrestleMania would have been like an awesome dream to me as a kid. And the only reason I regret I was not able to do it, WrestleMania 5, bro, I was 5 years old and I only could watch that from a VHS. And that's why I tell you, everything I was watching VHS, I was like, fuck, I wish it was. So it was just one of those things where I would just watch it and it's like, fuck. And it told you a lot of stuff on my list is going to be because I used to go to Blockbuster Video, and man, that is like old dating myself. I know I keep yelling that, but they had a whole new release section, and it would just be nothing but wrestling tapes. So I would snag every wrestling tape I could find and just like fucking just watch it over and over and over and over and over. So think of 5-year-old me watching Macho Man versus Hogan, and it's like, oh shit. Or at that time, what? WrestleMania 5 was 1990, so at this point I was like probably 8 years old watching it. It's like, oh shit, because this is me getting the history of wrestling.
Right.
So that's where I was like, oh man, this happened then and this happened that. But you kind of wish you were there to watch it, like to see these big events that made wrestling so popular in the '80s. And man, I must say it was like, you know, WrestleMania 5, number 8.
My number 7 is NJPW Sakura Genesis 2017. I believe this took place at the Roki Goto Sumo Hall as well. And most notable match on it is Kazuchika Okada versus Katsuri Shibata. Shibata had won the New Japan Cup prior to the event, so he was going in. He was going in as him. Uh, Shibata was very much had the crowd behind him. Shibata was being kind of prepped to actually take the belt from Okada and kind of, I want to say, lead New Japan into a new a new generation, but he was arguably the hottest superstar that they had at the time because the crowd was like really popping for him and he was giving really good matches. So this was the accumulation of all of that. And the match itself, man, did it deliver. One of the most hard hitting, um, all inspiring, two guys just beating the hell out of each other. So, but like when they hit each other, you could see like the sweat was like would make a mist in the air every time that they would hit each other. It was just such an intense, match between these two guys. And then, what the match is most known for, the headbutt to Okada that would sideline Sabata for, a number of years. Um, he's okay now and he still, wrestles. But, at the time it was pretty scary. But, what a match to see in person. These two guys, the guy that's at the top, the guy that wants to get to the top. And I think it would have been a great match just to be so fully invested in and, watch in person. I think it would have been all inspiring. Like, I would have been hyped to be in that crowd for sure. Um, that is my number 7.
Hmm. My number 7 is I I could have went, but I just was stupid, naive me. It was the St. Valentine's Day Massacre in Your House, 1999, at the Pyramid in Memphis, Tennessee.
Nice.
And the reason I say this is because the Pyramid. Fun fact: I graduated high school out of the Pyramid. Graduated high school out of the Pyramid, which makes it funny. And then number 2, Memphis was known Memphis to me is the wrestling capital. You can tell, I don't give a fuck what y'all say. Is the wrestling capital of the world. Everybody that was somebody has went through Memphis at one point. And this was one of the very few times that WWF at that time went to Memphis. And especially for a pay-per-view at the Pyramid, 99, main event was Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Vince McMahon in a steel cage match to determine who was going to WrestleMania as the number 1 contender, with the undercard being The Rock versus Mankind for the WWF Championship. Bro, like, you're talking like heavy fucking hitters at the top of that card. Jeff Jarrett and Owen Hart at the card for the tag champ. This is when they were like tag champions. Let me see. Bob Holly, Al Snow. I love Bob Holly. Val Venus, Ken Shamrock. Corporation versus DX. I mean, this was like a crazy card. Hell, Chyna wrestled Triple H. So I mean, the reason I didn't go because I was 99. I was 15 years old, and at that time, me going to wrestling shows in person, for some odd reason, I just didn't even think of getting those tickets. I just did not even think twice. At that time, I had a job, like a little summer job. I had some money. I literally could have bought a ticket to that show just to go to Pyramid, but I probably wouldn't have had a ride there or back. So that's why. It's like, yo, dad, yo, take me to the pyramid real quick. Go to the show real quick. So, but that show was one of the biggest in the world. And what's crazy about that is that like a couple years later, the pyramid got Mike Tyson and Lennox Lewis. So that's why it was just like, but that show to me was like WWE at the apex of its popularity, going to the wrestling capital of the world, and I just am pissed at myself that I just somehow I didn't go. I don't know how I didn't go. I just I kicked myself in the ass for that one because I'm like, damn, I could have went to that show.
Fun fact: the pyramid is now a Bass Pro Shop.
Yeah, it's a Bass Pro Shop. Yeah, I know exactly what it is. It's a Bass Pro Shop with a hotel at the top.
Who wants to hotel a lodge in a Bass Pro Shop?
Well, the Bass Pro Shop is at the bottom, and then like the hotels are like at the top where it kind of overlooks the Mississippi River, where it overlooks the Mississippi River and the bridge that takes you that separates Memphis from Arkansas. See that? And it's literally in the like downtown Memphis, so you can't go anywhere with that damn thing.
Okay, were you done?
Yeah. Fun fact, though, also the Coliseum and the Pyramid were where a lot of those USWA shows went down. Like, whew.
You know, it just breaks my heart that a lot of these historic buildings, aren't necessarily buildings anymore.
Oh yeah, that one, and I mean that the Mid South Coliseum in itself. Oh man, whew.
The Houston Auditorium, and I believe it was the Houston Auditorium.
Yep, that one. Yeah.
Yep. Right, that brings me to number 6, and that is Backlash 2023, which took place in Puerto Rico. This crowd was just on fire, and I love that kind of environment that's kind of just slightly hostile. This show had Bianca Belair versus Io Sky, and arguably Bianca Belair's like the height of her championship run, and the people booing her and in favor of Io Sky. So that kind of tells you like they're gonna go for who they want to go for. Rhea Ripley defended her newly won title against Zelina Vega. I mean, she had no chance, but obviously, when you're seeing Rhea Ripley, it's never not a good time. Um, and you had Bad Bunny versus Damian Priest, which by all regards shouldn't have been as good of a match as it actually was. And it actually was a pretty damn good match. And you have the first of, was it dream matches that Brock Lesnar had with Cody Rhodes as well. So I mean there was a lot of good shit on this show. Um, that it, which was what was a good show was elevated to a great show with just how invested the crowd was in everything that was going on. I think there was maybe only like one match that was maybe took a dip for crowd wise. Um, and I think Matt Riddle was in it, so Actually, no, he wasn't. Uh, maybe it was. I can't remember. But yeah, it seemed like it was a really good environment to enjoy a pro wrestling show, and that's why it's my number six.
Oh man. Speaking of six, my number six was WrestleMania 6.
So WrestleMania 5, WrestleMania 6, we're going in order.
I'm telling you, I watched these on tape. So nothing was more crazier to me as a kid than wanting to be in the crowd when you see two of the big, because this was the first time it was space versus space. So it was basically
Right.
two of the biggest names at that time going head to head in the Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior. And that's another regret that I have of not seeing the Ultimate Warrior wrestle in person at all. And the only time and it kind of sucks because the only time I got to see the Ultimate Warrior in person in the crowd, as a person in the crowd, was the day before the Ultimate Warrior died.
Well, I mean, if
So,
you're ever going to see him, I mean, that's the time.
I mean, but it was, it was, if you ever go see, you're right, but to see him do his thing, right? To do the run in, the splash, and the whole 9 yards, just watching that, and then and seeing him get his ultimate moment. Because at the time, I was a Warrior dude and I was a Hogan dude, and part of me felt bad for Hogan losing, but to see the Ultimate Warrior become one of the first in my lifetime hold both the Intercontinental and the WWE, WWF's top two titles at the same time simultaneously, is a image that you know is forever in wrestling history to me, because that's the first time it's happened to me in my lifetime where your top star is holding the top two titles in your company at the same time. And just to have that moment and to see it as like, for WrestleMania 6, I was probably like 6 years old. So come to find out, WrestleMania coincides with my birth years. So 6 years old, I'm watching that at like 7, 8 years old, and I'm like, God damn, that is cold as shit. So like, he was so good, he got both of the belts. Like, so obviously this one, I couldn't, I was too young, too young to even conceive the notion of being at an event. So, yep, number 6, WrestleMania 6.
That brings me to number 5. And I am going to kind of take a cheat sheet because they do kind of blend together. One ECW's One Night Stand 2005 and 2006 from the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York City. Um, the original was ECW was honestly how ECW should have ended. It was just ECW people doing ECW things. You had Tommy Dreamer and the Sandman versus the Dudley Boys. You had some really, matches that you wouldn't necessarily get, being, WWE fans. And, as somebody that didn't necessarily grow up with ECW. It was kind of nice to actually see, something different than I was used to with WWE. Like I said, Super Crazy jumped off of the balcony as he does. Sabu defeated Rhino. Rey Mysterio was on this card. Chris Benoit wrestled Eddie Guerrero. Mike Awesome and what is his name? Tanaka. They had like the most brutal fucking match I've ever seen. And just honestly, just to see Paul Heyman give that speech that he did at that first night, just to kind of drink that Kool-Aid that he was spewing, and would have just been phenomenal. And 2006, man, there was a lot of good stuff on that match. I mean, Terry Funk and Tommy Dreamer versus Edge and Mick Foley, like, fuck me. Like, middle-aged and crazy still, doing it. Chris Jericho was on that card. Rey Mysterio wrestled Sabu for the World Heavyweight Championship as well. And it was obviously the biggest, match on that card. The most memorable match was RVD winning the WWE Championship from John Cena. An all-time match, honestly, just for how hostile that crowd was for John Cena. Like, it was like that crowd did not like John Cena. And if there was ever going to be a riot in WWE, that was going to be the match that did it if John Cena won. As much as a John Cena fan as I was at that time, and I was a John Cena fan at that time, I know that's hard to believe, I was always an RVD guy. RVD was always my guy. And he was the one of 3 people I chose as my guy, as my favorites, that I wasn't told that we were cheering for that guy. So to see him actually win the big one and be WWE Championship, the WWE Championship, even though he was kind of tweeny he was skewing a little bit more heel, he was still the face to me, and he was still my guy. So to see him win the WWE Championship was incredible. And to be a part of that event, to see it live, to be in that environment that was so hostile, but yet so incredible, would have been incredible. And that's why it's my number 5.
Oof, man. My number 5, the very first SmackDown episode, 1999. August 26, 1999. I swear to God, I wish I was at that show. At the time, Raw was the only weekly show that was coming on. Somehow The Rock got so popular that they made his own show called SmackDown. SmackDown premiered on, at the time, local TV, which was like Fox 13. The main event was The Rock versus Triple H with Shawn Michaels as the referee.
And those tiny little shorts.
Yep. The thing that got me there was when Shawn Michaels did the super kick on The Rock, and I just remember cussing my ass out through the house. So I can only imagine me cussing my ass through the goddamn arena. And this is like me being 15 years old, by the way. So 15-year-old me cussed through the house. And I just remember my granddad found out I was cussing, and I was like, well, it's because Triple H got he saw me and he seemed so disappointed. And I'm like, And I felt bad, but I'm like, but Triple H cheated to get the belt. I was like, I tried to justify my cussing at the time. But yeah, Shane McMahon versus Mankind, Tori versus Ivory, Road Dogg versus Chris Jericho, Big Boss Man, and All Snow. I mean, hell, the dark match was Kurt Angle and the California Kid. I'm just like, what the fuck? So, I mean, I really wanted to be at that show because it was the first of any show, especially SmackDown. Just to be at the first of anything is always fun, right? Like the genesis of it. Of course, I couldn't make it. I was 15, no money. My my parents were not going to take me to where was this show at Kansas City, Missouri. Also in the middle of like the Midwest. I ain't going to Kansas City to go to SmackDown, right? At 15, but uh, so it got the money, and I was just too young to travel to Missouri. Although I went to St. Louis, which is weird, but that's a whole other thing. But anyway, but anywho, yeah, that's the reason. And the very first SmackDown episode, I regret just I can't. That's the show I wish I was at.
That's why it's number five.
Mm-hmm.
Alright. And that brings me to my number four. And that is Money in the Bank 2011. Allstate Arena, better known as the Rosemont Horizon. Um, One of the best crowds ever of all time. CM Punk versus John Cena for the WWE Championship. Um, as you like to say, it's the Saints in St. Louis after Katrina. Like it's, I think they might give Punk more than just that. Um, just go the story going into it. You know, it was the shot in the arm that WWE needed that made 2011 2011 because literally nothing else was interesting at that time. Um, and it wasn't just this match because this card honestly this whole card was popping off. Um, you had Daniel Bryan won the Money in the Bank. Alberto Del Rio won the Money in the Bank. Like both those guys were like the Money in the Bank would skyrocket Daniel Bryan um, after the show. Alberto Del Rio literally 1 month would cash in on CM Punk. Um, Mark Henry was in the process of the Hall of Pain. Like this kind of was the catalyst where he fucked up Big Show and he kind of kept drawing him through the table. Um, One of the only times the World Heavyweight Championship was lost via disqualification when Christian beat Randy Orton. So there was a lot going on the show other than just CM Punk winning, the WWE Championship. But obviously that was the icing on the cake, that everybody remembers. And I mean, what a thing to remember. And I mean, to be a part of that show, to see it in person, to get that short that has the date on it, on the back, um, because obviously it was the white shirt that said, best in the world on the back, but that
Mm-hmm.
specific, shirt that was sold at that
Year.
show,
That specific year at that show. It's a yeah.
yeah, it that would have been something. That definitely would have been something. So, yeah, that is why it's my number four.
Oh man, my number four. It's funny because my number four is like lower than yours. I mean, it's higher than yours, which is the very first All In in 2018. How funny, Labor Day weekend. And the reason, like I said, it's just because it's the first. I love being at one of these things where it's the very first time something is happening because it feels new, and and everything that you said, I doubled it, plus the fact that there was this buzz of the newness because it's like you don't know what to expect, but you're just like the crowd is very optimistic, right? And watching that crowd in Chicago, watching that crowd, it was just like super awesome, and it made you realize why you liked wrestling in the first place, right?
Right.
And I don't know, 2018. What the fuck was I doing in 2018? I don't know why I didn't go to that show. Probably because I wasn't like financially stable. God knows, who knows where I'm at during that time. But that was one show I wish I would have went to. Chicago. Chicago is one wrestling towns that I wish I would go to, which is crazy because I've been to the wrestling capital of the world, which is Memphis, by the way. And then, of course, I've been to New York and New Jersey and Philly and LA. I just somehow miss Chicago. I don't know. If SummerSlam hits Chicago, we're going. We're just gonna have to go. I mean, I went to Cleveland for crying out loud. That tells you everything you need to know. But 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 yeah, All In. That is up there with me because it was the first, and it kind of broke the notion that AEW was more than just a T-shirt company.
I mean, AEW wasn't a thing at that point.
I mean, but that was the thing that sparked AEW.
Right.
But yeah, and I think that was one of the very few times Cody got cheered in anything because I've been to a show where he wrestled and they booed the shit out of him. But then again, it's Kenny Omega, so who the fuck gonna boo? Who's gonna boo Kenny Omega unless he's making you boo him? But yeah, number four, AEW All In to me because it was just like it's very rare that you get like a new wrestling show group or new wrestling anything in this cohort that's a nationally syndicated pay-per-view.
Yeah. And I'd like to just say, most of these shows, any show that I mention after 2009, the reason that I didn't go to it was funds and travel. And obviously you need funds to travel, so it just adds more to the funds part. So
Oh yeah.
Here's to wishing I was Green Shirt Guy.
Yeah, boy. Green Shirt Guy. Green Shirt Guy. It was funny when I saw him walk down the ramp and be a guest timekeeper at 41. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, he wrote it.
When they brought him to the ring because remember night one I was sitting behind the announcer's table. See, that's how blessed I am now. That's how blessed I am now to where I can sit behind the goddamn announcer's table 5 rows back. But yeah, I saw him. I was like, why the fuck is he ringing the bell? Who the fuck let him ring the bell? I'm like, what the fuck do I need to do to ring the bell? I want to ring the bell. But I can't say shit because I got engaged in the ring, so I can't say shit. I proposed in the middle of a wrestling ring, so I'm blessed beyond measure.
So just to reiterate what I was saying, anything after 2009, it's just funds and travel. Anything like 2007 and before is um yeah, I didn't know that WWE traveled. So, when I watched WWE, I didn't fucking know that they would go from city to city to city. I didn't even know what city I was in, let alone that WWE was gonna fucking travel to it.
I know. I was like, wait a minute, they're in Boise, Idaho. What the fuck?
I, I don't know. So, like, if WWE very much was just something I thought was on TV, like, I didn't know that, like, they traveled from city to city. So, it, let alone, that I could actually see this live. Like, I mean, only, like, once I thought, when WrestleMania came to Staples Center in 2005, I was like, is that here? And my mom was like, no.
She lied to you.
Like, yeah, like, I could have been at WrestleMania. Like, there's a couple of,
You
like,
could have you
I
could have
think
did a quick Google map search, a little map quest search, ask
this is 2005. There was no
MapQuest.
Google.
Map no MapQuest. You could search MapQuest.
Well, like I, like I said, I had. If you think my geography is bad today, like back then, like forget it. Like I knew the city I was in, and that was literally it. Let
Oh
alone
yeah.
where other cities were in
Oh
California.
gosh. 2005. I was 20 years old. I was in Iraq. No. I was just getting back from overseas when WrestleMania popped.
Yeah, I could have been
Because
at
I
that
ended up going
WrestleMania.
to the Taboo Tuesday. So that's yeah. So
I
yeah,
probably could have gone to Taboo Tuesday too if I knew where pro wrestling was
that
at that
San
time.
Diego was only 2 hours from where you were.
Yeah,
Like
you
you
know,
had a sense of a map and geography. See, Dora the Explorer was out there, so there's no excuse. There's no excuse.
man, I've been reorganizing my DVD shelf, and I'm looking at my WWE DVDs, and I was like flipping over the dates, and I was like, this took place at Staples Center, and I was like, motherfucker, if I knew, I could have seen this match, but it is what it is. Let's get back to the list. Um,
Yeah, it is what it
my number three is Survivor Series 2002. Took place at Madison Square Garden. Going back to, in my younger days, I there was one paid preview that came out that I really wanted to see, and that was I believe it was Randy Orton Undertaker Hell in a Cell. And I really wanted to see that paid preview. Um, and we could not get that paid preview. I was really upset about that, and my mom got me the Survivor Series 2002 DVD. We went to Suncoast Videos, if anybody remembers that, and I got that. And to say that I played the shit out of that DVD is an understatement. Uh, I literally played that DVD as many times as I could between when I got it to up until like maybe like 2 3 years ago. That DVD was my comfort WWE, and it was a fucking banger of a show. Um, Tables match with the Dudleys and the Hardys on the same team against 3 Minute Warning. Um, Big Show versus Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar drawing the Big Show like a rag doll, and Paul Heyman screwing Brock Lesnar for the first time. You had Trish Stratus and Victoria in a hardcore match, which, the women didn't necessarily do matches like that at the time. Um, Billy Kidman won the Cruiserweight Championship from Jamie Noble, I want to say. Um,
Mm-hmm.
One of the greatest tag team matches of all time. Benoit and Angle versus Eddie and Chavo versus Edge and Rey Mysterio. Um, man, what a fucking match. And, it all accumulated to the first ever Elimination Chamber match where Shawn Michaels wore those god awful poop brown pants and that horrible bob haircut and won arguably one of his most, iconic matches. It was just one of the best paid previews I've ever seen. Um, I still hold it in really high regards to this day. Um, I could have did this with. I could have said Survivor Series 2001 or 2003 as well. Those were really great shows as well. But 2002 always kind of holds a place in my heart. The Elimination Chamber had become my favorite match stipulation. Um, and I have got. I will say this: I have gotten to see the original Elimination Chamber live, the match back in 2011 when Edge retained the heavyweight championship, and I believe John Cena won the number one contenders match to wrestle The Miz. So that's so I think that was one of the last times they actually used the original Elimination Chamber. So, but yeah, to be at the first one, to see that live, all in play, and obviously a New York crowd is always going to be, the hottest. That would have been
Mm-hmm.
incredible to be a part of. That's why it's my number three.
Oh my God. Well, my number three was like your number one. And your number three was in your lower rung, which was the WWE Backlash in Puerto Rico.
It was number
I'm gonna tell
six,
you right,
so it was.
it was number six. It was bottom half. I'll give you that. Bottom half. I've been to Puerto Rico. I've been to San Juan, Puerto Rico. I've been to an arena where it is built literally just for cockfighting in Puerto Rico. But to have been in San Juan, Puerto Rico with Bad Bunny coming out to his people, it looking like the second coming of Jesus, that would have been a I you know what's funny? I That is one spot I just can play over and over because as much as like we've had a previous episode, a couple episodes ago, where I said that Paris understands the assignment.
Hmm.
Puerto Rico just blew it out the water. I mean, when Bad Bunny's coming out to his song and they're going word for word, and it is so loud that the drone that they're trying to fly through the fucking arena is shaking, it's a fucking problem. So I really, really wish I was at that show just for that. I mean, don't get me wrong, Damian Priest is Puerto Rican, so he fit the bill. But just to be there for that moment. I mean, that card was stacked, but for that main event, man, I really am like, holy shit! I kind of wish I was at that bitch. And I'm trying to remember what happened. What year was that? Was it 2019?
2023.
2020? Oh, 2023. Jesus. It was 2023?
Yeah, we were literally at the show before Backlash. We were at WrestleMania
We were
30.
at WrestleMania, and that's exactly why I couldn't go. Fucking LA. WrestleMania LA. Yep. Yeah, exactly. If I had a knew that was happening, shit, I would have went to Puerto Rico. Because, I mean, all the money I spent on at Mania in LA easily could have went to Puerto Rico.
That's very true.
I mean, that's a round trip flight with the ticket. So yeah, number three is WWE Backlash 2023 in San Juan, because I know those people were like partying like it's nobody's business, and the best part is it hasn't went back since.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it where it's like, damn, you wish you had to have been there. Because they've been back to Paris. They've been back to Europe. But they have not been back in Puerto Rico since.
It's kind of sad
So,
considering how electric it was.
but to be quite honest, if they go back, could they really top that?
Yeah, that's true.
That's the other part. Like, we brought your biggest folk hero in the main event. I don't think we can do better than that, bro. So I get it. I get it. That's my number three.
My number two is WrestleMania 19. Took place in 2003 in Seattle, Washington, Safeco Field. Um, this was this is probably one of the finest WrestleManias of all time, and when it takes place, is just kind of so perfect because it's it's the ending of so many chapters because you have you know Stone Cold and The Rock one last time. Stone Cold's final match at the time. Um, ending, the Attitude Era. You have Hulk Hogan versus Vince McMahon, which Loki was not a bad match. Which ended, the 80s era. You have Shawn Michaels versus Chris Jericho, which, kind of, was the start of Shawn Michaels kind of fully coming back and embracing WWE. Um, you have, um, you had that really awkward handicap match against with the Undertaker and A Train and the Big Show. Um, and you had, a really good main event, which was kind of signifying, the future. Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle, fucked up by literally one move. But I feel like it was just a really nice environment. It was a really cool environment. It, and it was history. It was the ending of two eras and the beginning of a new era with, Brock and Kurt. Didn't necessarily go that way, considering, what happens with Brock the next year. I digress.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, you didn't necessarily know that at the time. And considering that, it was on this side of the country, probably could have made it, but, uh, Seattle's a lot further away than, a lot of the other shows. So, I don't think my mom would have gone for that at that time. Um, even if I knew where Seattle was at that time. So yeah, uh, WrestleMania 19, my number two.
Oh man, my number two. It seems like a cheat, but it's not a cheat. Essentially, any ECW event during the prime of his existence. It was because I used to like. I mean, the story is pretty much obvious with me. I used to stay up on DirecTV watching the Sunshine Network, literally, because it was a Florida channel that was only channel that would cover ECW. I would literally stay, and we didn't have DVR back then, so I was like, "Fuck," you know. So you had to literally stay up and watch that
Okay.
shit. So it's me sitting on my dad's couch, or sitting on my dad's like big chair, trying to stay up and watch this shit at 2 in the morning. It would have been better just to be there in person and just not have to worry about it. But and that's the other thing too, because it was just like just to be in that atmosphere where it was just that wrestling was just to watch it a lot. To watch, I mean, watching it then on the Sunshine Network, technically it was already taped, so you're just kind of watching the reruns. So to be there live would have been something bananas. And obviously, ECW at that time, what, 94 to 2000? I was 14 to 16. I probably could have made it on the 16 end, but keep in mind, 16, no money like that to go to fucking Philly. But, and my mom wouldn't have let me do it anyway because she was whooping my ass for staying up so goddamn late. Go staying up so late watching this shit. So I mean, kind of how that went. So I mean, my dreams were dashed, and that's the one show I regret. Like I went to like like the new East. Have I ever been to the new ECW? I mean, I've seen it, but it's nothing like how it was in those '90s shows. Man, it was just something different, and that's. I just kind of wish I was there just to catch the feel of Generation X because I mean, I'm a millennial, but I grew up in their prime. And to see them have all that fun in their prime with no cell phones and no having to worry about Twitch and all this other shit was some wild shit because they had some shit. They had some wild ass shit. So yeah, that's like the number two regret. Basically any ECW show. I don't give a shit if it's a pay per view. I don't give a shit if it was just a house show. I don't give a shit if it was just a regular TV show. I kind of wish I was there.
No, I get it. Literally any ECW. So
Yeah.
but, um, that brings me to my number one, and this is definitely a fantasy, but it might not have been a fantasy. And that is WrestleMania 17. Um, the greatest WrestleMania of all time. Headlined by the two greatest wrestlers of all time, and that is The Rock and Stone Cold. Um, following into one of the best storylines going into the main event. You had Undertaker versus Triple H for the first time. Um, TLC 2, which added Alita, Spike Dudley, and Rhino to the mix. Chris Benoit wrestled Kurt Angle. You had the gimmick battle royal won by the Orange Sheik. Rest in peace, Bubba. Um, you had Chris Jericho versus William Regal. Eddie Guerrero versus Test. There was not a bad match on this card. And um, this was in Houston, Texas, at the Astrodome. You know, obviously it was a hot crowd. It was very heavy Stone Cold. You know, when you're at a point where you're turning heel and siding with one of the most evilest people in the world at that point, with Vince McMahon, and the people are cheering it, you know, you know how over that person is. So that would have been incredible to be in that environment, in that arena, to experience all of that. Um, I've gotten to see The Rock wrestle, didn't get to see Stone Cold wrestle. So yeah, that kind of sucks, but yeah. The funny thing is, geographically, I might have actually been in that area around that time for that WrestleMania. But then again, I was like 3 years old at the time, so like if my geography wasn't that great at 6, what makes you think I knew where I was at 3? Um, like literally living room, bedroom, kitchen. I'm good. Uh, and you know for sure my mom wasn't gonna tell me. She probably didn't even know. Even she didn't watch wrestling back then. And my grandfather liked pro wrestling. He what got me into pro wrestling, but he didn't necessarily like going to the events himself. Um, which kind of sucked because he definitely could have pushed me to get to these shows, but you know he did not have the desire to do so. So you know that is what it is as well. But yeah, WrestleMania 17, my number one event that I really wish that I was at. Even though I was 3 at the time and I didn't know shit, wouldn't have probably as enjoyed it if I were to enjoy it as today. But you know, still, Gallico.
I mean, 17. I thought about putting it on my list, but I like being at the house because I mean, I will say this for my parent, my dad didn't take us to the show, but there was one show we would always order, which was WrestleMania. So we was always the wrestling cats on the block. So they would have our little watch parties, you know, with some of my homeboys that were neighbors. So that's the only reason why I didn't put that on my list. So my number one is Money in the Bank 2011, hands down. If at that point, what 2011, I was what 27, I
2011.
should have made it, huh?
It was 2011. Yeah.
Yeah, 2011, and I was 27, so I easily could have made. Oh no, 2011, 84. Yeah, 27. Right about 27 years old. I easily could have made this match. Um, or made this. At that time, wrestling, like you said, wasn't a dud, and CM Punk brought, like, I was always a Punk guy, and I watched him, Royal Rumble 2009?
2010.
When Was it 2010?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 2010. When he cut the promo, I was just like on it. And then of course the SummerSlam prior, which was the Jeff Hardy match. There we go. But that whole thing just lit a fire in everybody's ass. And then to be there would have been something crazy because the following weeks he was at the San Diego Comic-Con with the belt. So that, you know what I'm saying? It just would have been chef's kiss to be there. I wasn't I mean, I think I was too busy. I was trying to make money. I was 27, making what, $30,000 a year. I wasn't gonna be able to make Chicago at that time. But that's one I wish I had a went to, just with the crowd and the way it ended. And you would have thought Chicago won a Super Bowl the way that they celebrated Punk. And the kiss goodnight and him going up there and going home and putting the belt in his fridge. I mean, the whole shebang. I just wish I was just at that show. And that is probably one of the biggest regrets. I will say, SummerSlam 2011 was cool, but it was not like Money in the Bank at all. It was like lightning in a bottle at Money in the Bank 2011. And that was the one I really, 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 really wish I had went to.
Yeah, it's crazy that we were both at, the SummerSlam literally the month after. And yeah, it still doesn't necessarily, just compare to the environment.
That is true. And watching Punk, Punk 2011, Punk 2012, Punk 2013. I've seen all three. Although 2013 was pretty cool. I ain't gonna lie. Punk 2013 was basically like the saving grace for wrestling, for that SummerSlam.
I believe that will conclude our coverage of the top 10 events that we wish that we were at. I find it interesting that we only, usually we're pretty like in unison with our picks. And this was like one of the only times we only shared 3 picks.
Well, because I get it. You were probably like, by the time you were born, most of this stuff already happened. For me, it was just like, we agreed on All In, Money in the Bank,
and Backlash Puerto Rico.
And Backlash Puerto Rico, yeah. But those were literally once in a lifetime electric moments. And I'm trying to think. Me going to WrestleMania, the only thing I can compare those to is like the first WrestleMania after the pandemic that was in person. And even then it was like half the crowd, but just being there was like a whole fucking different thing.
Right.
So, honestly, I ain't gonna lie. I'm blessed beyond measure to even go to a.
Calico? Nope, it's not me.
Oh, damn. You missed. I said all that. Damn, ain't that some shit? So, yeah, no, it's crazy because it's like we always, as a wrestling fan, you want to be at all of them. And the ones that you do get to go to, you don't
take for granted.
You don't take for granted. And
Can't be green short guy.
Oh gosh, you ain't lying. And it's funny because I tell my kid this too, because it's like, it took me 30 years, about 33 years to get to a big 4, right? Because that's everybody's dream. Every wrestling person's dream is to do the big 4. Well, now big 5 with Money in the Bank, but at least do the big 4. So it took me 33 years to get to the big 4. He's a SummerSlam away from doing it, and he's not even 10. so I look at him and I tell him, like, bro, don't take this ish for granted, right? Like, be happy that we are in a position to be blessed. Like, because I've been that kid where you ain't got the money and it's like, it's frustrating, right? So for those who are wishing to go to these things, man, I implore you to do it at least one time in your lifetime. You don't have to go all in on it. And it's funny because on my page, I'm just going to show you guys on my YouTube page. I'm just going to show you where I started. My very first WrestleMania, I was in the 600s at the New Orleans Superdome. I'll never forget 600s New Orleans Superdome, and I just slowly. It's just funny. Now I'm like 5 rows from ringside, and it's just like. And that journey, I don't change for anything because it's just like the moments that you meet with those people and being there and just being a part of that atmosphere. It's very cool. It's very humbling. If any person that hasn't gone, man, do it. Do it. You will not regret it. If it's in your town, especially I get it now because the house shows are not there anymore. So these tickets are actually more expensive because they're more of a rarity.
Right.
I get it. But if you were going to do it for one, do it for the big four. I would say do it for the big four. I've been very outspoken on this podcast, bro. Just wait till the last minute. The prices always hit the right price that you want. It's just a matter of going. But yeah, and I was just saying, like, it's funny because a lot of the shows that we went to, we don't even know we were there. Like, it's just crazy.
Right.
So like, it's funny. Like, and I'm gonna end it with that. Like, it's crazy because like I wouldn't be on this show considering that we haven't been. Considering that it's like, oh, you were at that show. Oh yeah, I was at that show too. Oh, you were at the show. I was at that show too. It's like, yeah. So yeah, don't take not going for granted. You never know who you run into at these shows.
Yeah. Or who you might not run into, but might start a podcast with years later.
I know. Messing around finding out that you were at the show yelling, Tanahashi!
Great fucking show. Right, that will conclude our top 10 list of shows that we wish we were at. And this episode as a whole. Thank you for listening. If you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment, both on YouTube and Castbox. Join us this Tuesday and Wednesday for new incredible interviews. And follow the show at Wrestling with E, both on Extra and Instagram for information on who we're interviewing, when we're interviewing them, links to those interviews, and so much more. Follow me personally at JamesJ993. Where can we find Kaliko?
I am Kaliko, and on the channel Kaliko Chronicles, which we will be linking with in collaboration with Wrestling with E, so that way we can all get this, chronicling our wrestling journey. Because sometimes it's good to just be like, man, I remember I was at those seats.
For Kaliko Yachts and Scooter Dust, I'm James J, and this has been Wrestling with Entertainment.
I'm surprised Backlash wasn't one, because fucking that was Jesus walking on water in Puerto Rico. Shit.
Hey folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show, support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.